Hi, Sean.
Hi, Jack.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm well. I'm exhausted because of the two
You do look
kids.
exhausted. Is this child related by any chance?
This is child related, and I think this basically going to be my answer for the kind of following 2 years, 4 years,
15 years, let's say.
15. Great,
yeah,
brilliant. Looking forward to it. On a kind of Mildred related note, I thought you might enjoy this. Is that last night Wilder? I don't know what the time was. Wilder was having a tantrum. She, you know, they kind of stop crying and they give you the sense that maybe it's the end. So it's like, and you go, I think that's it. I think that's it. And then she went, and Mildred went, and left the room.
That's hilarious.
So I think we're all feeling it.
Yeah,
clearly. I think Mildred is, when I take Mildred to the park, I think the other dogs are going to, how are you? And she's going, It's two kids. I'm just running to the ground. I can't focus. I'm just exhausted.
Yeah, she's probably telling all her dog friends at the park, we've got this 2-year-old in the house and just... What a nightmare.
That's exactly what's going on.
The mum's fine, but the dad does not know what he is doing. And, frankly, it's easier when he's away, on tour or something. I do remember when our kids were very small, and the boys, especially when they were quite a handful when they were very small, and we had the 2 Dachshunds then. And if they were naughty and they got sent to their room, which happened quite frequently. And so Jane would say, get up to your room. And so they'd be sort of halfway up the stairs, and then Walter and Darcy would chase them up right. And they'd actually sort of take sides and say, oh, yeah, you be told, get up to your room. Sick of this sight of you.
Like a little police.
Yeah, little police
policing.
I know, really. Yeah, you don't mess with that, I tell you. No.
But we had a lovely time, didn't we? Goodwoof.
Goodwoof was amazing. I mean, we were so lucky with the weather and our guests.
Yes,
and
we were.
Didn't we have a great time? I mean, this is the first time we've spoken since we recorded those 2 Goodwoof shows. And Dolly was absolutely exhausted after her day. I don't know about
Mildred was exhausted.
Yeah. I think it's the excitement of meeting Bill Bailey, and because he loves all dogs, and so he had to pay paid very special attention to all of our dogs, which is lovely.
He did.
I know. And then the special bonus of meeting, John Bishop. It was all a bit much for her. I think she was a bit starstruck by the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and of course, it's the first time that all of the dogs had been together.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
So lovely.
It almost went without incident, didn't it? I think it's fair to say.
I do think that Juniper and Mildred got along well in the end.
Yeah.
And Dolly and Juniper were sitting together when I was sat with Jane. And they were having a lovely time together, just like sniffing each other on our laps.
Yeah.
It was very sweet. It was lovely.
Well, I spoke to Mildred, and Mildred said that Juniper was winding her up. That's what happened, and that's why Mildred went for Juniper, because Juniper was saying, "I've got more Instagram followers than you."
And Juniper was saying, "Well, I've got my own account, so."
Yeah. No, I did. Yeah. I heard Dolly say, well, that's not a real breed, is it? Cockapoo? What are you talking about? I heard her say that. I did have a word with her after. I said, come on, that was rude. Yeah, well.
Well, I have to say, I thought Mildred, because I think Mildred is obviously the most kind of anarchic of the 3 dogs. I think that's fair to say. But
Funny
I thought, I thought Mildred. I was surprised at how well behaved Mildred was, to be honest.
She was
lovely.
very well behaved. She's fine, and she's younger as well, and but she's not younger than Juniper, really, is she?
No,
she's not.
She just got more energy, and I was giving her lots of cuddles, and she was absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, she's
a sweet dog.
She's great fun. She's full of fun. How did you feel after your dog race? When you for those who didn't see it, Seann got involved in a race with the fastest dog at Goodwoof. And yeah. Do you want to go on?
Well, I was you stitched me up again. Yeah.
No, not really. I mean, it was. You said you were up for something, and we said it won't be anything that's painful, like being chased by a police dog. And
no, I wasn't taken down by a police dog.
No.
But I had to. Well, I had to race Mildred, didn't I? I don't think I quite realised there would be a crowd to watch. So that was kind of humiliating. I think I'm already. Maybe this is a bit premature. I'm at the. I'm going to call it stage of my life where just being seen running is embarrassing.
Yeah,
it's just embarrassing to run.
Yes.
So I had a big crowd of people watching me run and lose to my dog, and I wasn't very happy. All the people were cheering Mildred on.
Yeah, I know. You didn't have many. It seemed I was supportive. I think I was. I was trying to. I was
huge
encouraging
incentive.
you.
Huge incentive from Jack.
Yeah. Do you want to tell everyone what you were doing?
Well, the way they do it to make the dogs run on this racetrack is you'd have one of the owners at the end with treats for the dog, and the dog is released, and the dog runs for the treat. And I was at the end. Someone was at the end with a treat for Mildred to make her run. Yeah. And I was at the end, and I was waving a £10 note at Seann. And I was quite surprised how well it worked, to be honest.
It's the hardest I've ever tried.
Well, I know. Well, I've had a word with your agent, and I said, look, this is clearly how to motivate Seann.
Cash. Yeah. Cash in hand gigs. But yes, a wonderful time. I got Mildred a new lead, which she needed, which was nice.
Yes.
And
was the new lead well received?
I think it's been very well received.
Yeah. Did Grace like it? She think it was nice? That's
Grace
good.
likes the new lead. I mean, it's very lazy, the reason I got the lead. I got the lead so that there's a lead for the front of the house for her walks.
Okay.
And now a lead for the back garden for her last wee of the night.
Controlling her to take her out so she doesn't... But, well, that's sandy, though. You don't need to be walking to the front door just to take her out the back door. That'd be ridiculous. So
thank you very much.
Yeah, so I think that's fair enough.
Jack, can I clear something up with you? Because on the post we put out with John Bishop, somebody commented,
I know.
Is his dog peeing on your leg?
Oh.
Did this happen? Because it does look like it.
I didn't see that. I didn't notice that.
Either did I.
I didn't notice that. No.
Have another look because it
will have another look.
Look like it.
I can vouch for John's dog. It did not pee on my leg. Unlike John, who has tried to do that in the past.
A few people commented on that.
Okay, that's very funny. I would have said something. I would have extracted maximum comedy out of that. Anyway, yeah. So, and Sara, how have you been? How's Juniper? She well?
She's well. Do you know she slept solidly for about 2 days after Goodwoof?
Oh, sweet. Yeah. So stimulated, aren't they?
Unbelievable. So she had an absolutely brilliant time. I think I was a bit worried because she's never been around that many dogs or people before. Yeah. But she seemed to take it in her stride, and luckily I had a bag. So I was able to carry her in that as well. So she was fine. She absolutely loved it. She really liked
it. And it was actually a special Goodwoof year, wasn't it, for Dachshunds? There was there were 600 Dachshunds, I believe, there.
Yeah.
And did you see one more beautiful than Juniper?
Definitely not.
Of course not. I think we did. I don't know how we managed, because we were quite well organised in advance. There was an itinerary, and we managed to miss everything that was on. It's quite extraordinary.
We were just getting to everything just as it was finishing.
Yes, yeah,
it was brilliant.
So anyway, it was a fine day out. And I'm sure. Hopefully, more people will go even next year. It was very well attended, wasn't it? I think.
You could get your tickets now. I'm sure we'd be back, wouldn't we?
Yeah, might well do. Yeah. I wonder what kind of dogs they're going to specialise on next year.
I might have a little insider information on that. I have a feeling it might be lurchers.
Oh, lurchers.
Yeah.
There aren't that many lurchers in Britain, I shouldn't think. It's quite a big dog, that. It's a big dog, isn't it? Yeah.
I could
I've
be
no
wrong, but
idea
that
what
was
that
reading
is.
between the lines from. They're kind of like Alan Carr's new dogs, but his are rescues, so we're not entirely sure what breed they are.
Oh, I see.
But they
Okay.
look like that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that'll be interesting, and
Yes.
we look forward to that. Hope people will listen to those episodes.
Yes,
Definitely.
we've got a voice note
Mm-hmm.
here. This is from Nikki from Poole, who has this to say.
Hi, Sarah, Jack and Seann. It's Nikki from Poole here. Just wanted to say how great it was to meet you all at Goodwoof last Saturday. Made it even more special being able to watch the live pod record. Still chuckling about Bill Bailey's menagerie of pets. Absolutely fantastic. My Border Terrier Baxter won his fastest dog race. Maybe next year if you go, Juniper, Dolly and Mildred should have a race together. Anyway,
shout.
take care. Love the show.
Thank
Good.
you
It was
very much.
nice to meet you, Nikki, and thank you very much for that voice note. That was it's great that it's always really is nice to meet people in the flesh who actually listen to the podcast, which happens increasingly these days. It's just lovely to know.
I know.
Isn't it? Yeah.
It's very Nice. I've had someone bumped into someone that was listening to the pod as I bumped into them. They went, "Oh!" and then pointing at their head. Yeah, it's very sweet.
That really is spooky, isn't it? Yeah, to have that happen.
Yes. But of course, I didn't. This is probably a bit naive, but I didn't. Of course, we were at a dog festival, so that really was where the "Oh My Dog" demographic.
Yes, we should not have been that surprised, I suppose.
Exactly.
But,
Yeah, because we met some of our listeners that actually went to Goodwoof because we talked about it on the show.
yeah, I know. Yes, yeah. Whereas I know some people who went to Goodwoof who do listen to the podcast and didn't come to the live one, and I
What?
These are people. Well, these are people I know, and they were at Goodwoof, and I said, were you in the audience? Did you come to the live podcast?" And they said, "No, didn't do that." I was just, well,
Thanks for that.
Yeah, I don't think we can be friends any longer. Sorry.
Blocked.
Yeah.
See you later. That was what was going on when we started the record of the live pod, and it seemed like they had saved something for our pod to begin before they let hundreds of dogs loose, barking, making the most noise
I know.
you could possibly make.
It suddenly in the background, it sounded like the Third Reich had arrived with all the Alsatians. It was horrendous. They're rounding people up or something in the background. It was suddenly very noisy. We had to,
Yes.
It was not the perfect environment to record something or do a show, but still good fun. And I think people really enjoyed the whole atmosphere and spirit of it.
Yes.
Yeah, great fun.
Yeah, it was good.
How's Dolly, by the way?
Dolly is really well, apart from tired. She's with me here. She's on her armchair, and I've got Nellie with me as well. So
Oh, it's lovely to meet Nellie as well.
yeah, she's sweet, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yes,
She is such a lovely little character, Nellie. Great fun. And she's here, so I've got them both with me. It's nice.
Dolly's so well behaved.
Well,
she's gorgeous.
She is very very happy just to be held, and should be there all day in
Has she
Jane's
always
arms.
been like that, Jack? If you had taken Dolly to Goodwoof, say, I don't know, 10 years ago,
Yeah.
would she have been the same?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's very quiet, but the funny thing is, sometimes at home she gets what I've described as the zoomies, and
Yes.
she'll just be jumping around all over the furniture. And I mean, our vet, when we got her, we had her checked over by our vet. We've had her for very nearly 10 years now, and the vet said they're like we said, oh, she's very quiet. And he said, oh, you wait, they're like little house monkeys, these dogs. And it's true. She tears all around the house when she's got in the mood, but just very quiet and very happy just to observe everything.
Yes, very sweet.
Doesn't feel she needs to join in to enjoy it,
But she didn't much. She also didn't mind. She also doesn't, I suppose, mind attention. She's very happy to kind of for everyone to stroke her and give her attention.
She's really great at that. She likes people. She really does like people. She doesn't mind being stroked. She's a bit more wary around dogs, but she's fairly brave actually, really, considering. It's just, but no, she quite likes people. She does,
Yes.
and I think she was, as I say, we say she's a rescue dog. I think she was orphaned, and we had to, she found herself without anywhere to live, which is very sad for her and probably quite traumatic. But now that she's in her home again, she just makes the most of it and loves people. Yeah.
Yes. It's lovely to get them, all three of them together.
It was. Go on, Sara, you got something for us quickly? Have you?
Yes, just something quick. We're going to be speaking to Dr. Amit Patel in a moment.
Yes,
we are. He'll be telling us about the big lunch, and their whole thing is be more dog. So I'm sure he'll tell us more about that in a second. But in relation to that, Chris from the big lunch sent me this photo. We've been doing a lot of dogs as humans, but this is you two as dogs.
I think that's really good, actually.
I think we found the new front cover for Oh My Dog.
I really like that.
Yes.
Who sent that in, Sara? Was that?
That's Chris from the big lunch. He sent that to me.
Thank you, Chris, for that. That's good fun. Yeah. So very quickly, the big lunch. We'll find out from Dr. Amit Patel, our guest, about that. So stay tuned for all of that. Yeah. Amit, it's lovely to have you on the podcast, and thank you for joining us. It's really great to meet you, albeit virtually. Tell us about Kika, first of all, because Kika was your first guide dog, is that right?
She is. Kika was my first guide dog. She still thinks she's my first guide dog and doesn't want to be replaced. Yeah, no. So I've had Kika now for just under 10 years now. Matched to Kika very early on after I signed up for a guide dog. I was told it could take up to about 4 years to be matched to the right dog. And I got the call within 6 weeks to say, we think we found you a dog, but she doesn't like anybody. So that's how it very much started. It was she doesn't like anybody, she doesn't get on with anybody, she needs someone to help nurture her. And so when we were introduced, she wasn't making for the door. And it's been an amazing partnership, and she's part of the family.
You lost your sight in 2013. I
did.
think that's right. Okay. I mean, that is a massive thing. I can only begin to imagine to get used to. Having slightly started to get used to that, then is there training that you have to be with a guide dog?
Yeah. So first of all, I think the misconception is that when you lose your sight, you get given a guide dog. What you first need to do is learn to be independent, because these dogs don't come with built-in sat navs.
No.
They have no idea where anything is or where to go. Right. So it can take up to about 3 months to learn to use a white cane. So you've got someone coming to the house every day to take you to your local shops, take you to maybe where you work, take you to the school runs, learn where all these little tactiles and all these little bumps on the pavements mean. It's mentally exhausting, trying to walk in a straight line and bump your way along using a cane. And the cane obviously detects the obstacles before you hit them. That's the hope. But you're also reliant on the tactiles to be in the right places. They're not always in the right places. Sometimes you can't do the easy route because it's not the safest route. You might have to walk an extra 20 minutes as opposed to everybody else, which is what I had to do for the nursery runs. I had to take an extra 20 minutes to get to nursery, as opposed to sighted people who can do it in 5 minutes.
What are tactiles? Are they the sort of the things you can feel on a zebra crossing or something?
Yeah, so they're the little bumps you see maybe at crossings, and then you've got the raised bumps when you get to the train stations to indicate that the stairs coming. So all these little things just mean different things all the time. So you have, for me, I learned to navigate using manhole covers. So I'll get to a manhole cover, and then I'll know either to turn, I'll think to myself, okay, I need to go 45 degrees to my right. That will avoid a pillar or maybe avoid some obstacles or shops that I want to kind of get around. So all these things. So I will literally, if I don't find that manhole cover, I'll take a couple of steps back and then look for it. So I'm like this little guy literally walking around trying to find these little, just anything to help me navigate. And you build this picture in your head constantly. So when you get a dog, the difference is they avoid the obstacles before you hit the obstacles.
Okay, so that's a fascinating insight. Thank you for giving us that, because As you said, I mean, I had that same preconception that you basically get given a guide dog and then you can find your way around. But of course, of course the dog doesn't really know what's what until you're the one who has to show them. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the dogs are actually matched to you. So guide dogs will come and they'll assess to see where you live, how fast you walk, what your eye condition's like, because everybody's eye conditions aren't the same. Mine is I don't see anything all day, so I need a dog that's very much on it all of the. I can't avoid a lamppost if the dog is getting, looking around. So, and then it's where you work, what you do, if you've got children. So as you're kind of profiled, and then these dogs are profiled as they come out the system, and then you're matched, it's literally like a dating profile, and you can't lie about it, because someone else is writing it for you.
So what were they thinking of when they thought, here's a dog that doesn't like anyone? I know. We know the man for him.
Oh, you know what? This is exactly what I was thinking. It's just, also, because it was very new to me losing my sight, guide dogs thinking about around it was that Kika needs to find someone who can nurture her. And I also needed someone who could nurture me as well. And I was at that stage where I learned to navigate using a white cane, but I was still scared leaving my house. I can do the routes that I'm comfortable with, but then exploring new places, it would take me days and days just to get my mental strength up to leave my house to do these. So I thought that having the two of us work together would be a perfect partnership. Now, 99% of the time, their conclusions are pretty much accurate. But sometimes you might have a dog that you don't quite trust, or the dog doesn't quite trust you. And the hardest thing would be then to turn around and say, well, this isn't working, and the dog gets retrained and gets passed to somebody else. Yeah. But I was lucky. Kika very much changed my life.
Yeah. Out of interest, did you have dogs before Kika? When you were sighted, when you could see, did you have dogs then, or as a child?
No, I love the idea of having a dog. My dad worked for the MOD, and he would come home with sniffer dogs. So I love the fact that, there'll be a dog in the house sometimes, but it wasn't our dog. It would always go back. Love the idea of having a dog. But being an A&E doctor, I just wasn't home to look after a dog all the time. And my job meant I was flying around the world constantly. So it was none of that. I could be home, take the dog out for a walk. So it was very, very new. But then I thought I had 4 years to get my head around the fact that there might be a dog coming, not 6 weeks. So that was pretty quick.
Yeah. How long does it take to make that connection with your guide dog?
A good year. I'll say a good year.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, a good year, because you don't know why a dog stopped for a certain reason. You don't know the habits of this. Okay. Kika was just over 18 months old when she came to us. So she was this tiny little Labrador who knew what she was doing. She loved working, and she loved working in busy environments, because I was always going into work at busy times. I was at London Bridge Station and Waterloo at 8 o'clock in the morning, where it's the hustle and bustle. She loved the hustle and bustle. She loved going on new adventures. She hated doing routines, absolutely hated routines, loved going and exploring. So she would enjoy that, but it took a good year to get to know why she's doing something, what's the reason for her to stop. There's many incidences where she stopped, sat on my foot, and I've had to call guide dogs and said, this is what's happened. Can you tell me what this means? And they're like, we don't know, Amit. We don't know why Kika stopped. To the point where once I had to call the police. So this is literally, we've just qualified. We went off, we did our training together for 2 weeks in a hotel. That way I'm in a new environment, Kika's in a new environment. Yeah. We're learning to kind of work together. She came home with me. And then the guide dogs would come to my house every day to teach Kika the routes from my house to where I needed to go. She's never been to my house before. No. So she would learn this. And then we qualified as a guide dog partnership. And then my wife went away for work, and I went out with Kika, and suddenly she stopped, sat on my foot. I had no idea why she did this. Called guide dogs and said, we don't know, Amit. We don't know why she's done this. The only thing I could do was call the police. And I said, I'm a blind guy with a guide dog, and I think I'm between here and here. Can someone send out a car and look for me? And they said to me, Amit, don't worry, stay on the line. We'll get a police, a patrol car to come. A few minutes later, you hear the sirens. Reason she stopped was we were walking along a dual carriageway, and there was roadworks going on, and the cones and bollards had fallen in our path, and there was no safe way across. Usually she would take me to the curb and walk around onto the road, but obviously this was a no-no. because of the environment. So the police basically told me this is what the situation's like, and it's brilliant that your dog could do this. And this was within a few months of our partnership. So I'm obviously in the police car. They said, look, we'll take you home. Don't worry. What do? I call my wife. And I called my wife and I said, guess where I am? In the back of a police car with Kika. That did not go down well. Believe me, that did not go down well. But it's, do you know what? You're constantly learning. Even years later, I would think, do you know what? Kika's just done this. Or it's when you're with a sighted person, they'll say, do you know what? Kika's just avoided all of these obstacles because she's taken you across the road. Yeah. Where someone else would just have to walk through the obstacle. She's just taken you across the road and then walk around again. So it's these little incredible things these dogs are.
It's fascinating because so much of what we talk about on this podcast is our friendship with the dog and the fun that we can have. And all of that is important. But yours is about this relationship of trust that is just beyond anything that we usually hear about. It's incredible. And now you're in the process of handing over and getting a new guide dog. Is that right?
So I've had Quark, now my second guide dog, for a year.
Oh, okay.
Again, when Kika retired, it was go back on the list again, and it could take up to 4 or 5 years because guide dogs are still working on the fact that when COVID hit, a lot of guide dogs never made it out of training. And some guide dogs, even during COVID, because they didn't go out as much, decided they didn't want to work anymore. So there was a huge backlog of guide dogs. Yeah, just like exactly like humans. So there's a huge backlog of visually impaired people who needed dogs. So I was told, well, Amit, you kind of need a dog specific for your needs. I fly around the world. I need a dog I can jump on a plane, jump on a Eurostar. Kika was on her third passport with me.
Could I just ask why Kika is retired? Is there a cutoff point, a legal cutoff point or something, or an age where a dog has to stop?
Yeah, they normally retire around 10, 11 years old. So sometimes dogs would retire earlier due to medical reasons. Sometimes, and then you will notice when they get about 9 or 10, they start to slow down as well. Yeah, they're not walking the paces they were walking. You realise that when they come home, they're a little bit more tired. So it's when you get to about 9, 10 years old, guide dogs will assess and think, do you know what? I mean, she's probably got about 6 months left. And with these working dogs as well, all they know is to work. I'm very fortunate that when I go out to work, my dog comes with me. Yeah. They're not left at home. So they love the interactions. They're guide dogs for, they're sociable. They work, they enjoy it. It's that social stimulation from them. And when Kika retired, oh boy, did she change. She became grumpy. It was like, what do I do now? What do I do? So then Kika just became, so when Kika retired, we adopted Kika. We're fortunate enough that we can look after her. So we adopted Kika, and she's the therapy dog at my kid's school.
Wow. Okay.
So she's still part of the community. Yeah, absolutely. Still. So when Kika retired, it was very much okay. We can now think about as a family. I've got 2 young kids. Me and my wife. We thought Kika's retired. We can go and do the Asia trips. The trips that we can't do with Kika. We used to do America. We used to do Europe, but we can't do Asia with Kika, with a dog. So we thought, okay, well, let's go and plan a cruise. Let's go and do all of this because we've got years before another dog comes along. I'll just go out with my white cane. And then we get a call from Irish guide dogs to say, I think we've got a dog here for you. How about jumping on a plane? And so I literally jumped on a plane with some guide dog instructors from the UK and got to meet Quark, who's everything Kika is. He's the opposite. A black lab, big boy, very sociable. Where Kika is sociable, but she's very controlled. Where Quark wants to jump up and give you a hug.
I had no idea how involved the whole process is. I have to say, I've really learnt a lot talking to you. Yeah, it is an expensive process, isn't it? Getting a dog trained, and then, for instance, you mentioned, a couple of the people from Guide Dogs going over to Ireland with you. It's absolutely essential part of the process, isn't it?
Along with the fundraising and the donations, it's also the amazing volunteers. So guide dogs, I wouldn't have Kika if it wasn't for selfless volunteers who would take them in, socialize these dogs, knowing full well that they have to hand them back to guide dogs. Yeah. But we know that these are going to make life changes for people like me. It really is. I'm very lucky. I've got an amazing wife. I've got 2 kids. But the dog, I got married and I lost my sight the same year. So it was very much kind of a big blow. Nobody knew it was coming.
No.
And then, even that conversation with children stopped very much because I thought, well, if I can't look after myself, how ever am I going to look after a child? Oh. Kika came along, gave me that confidence that I can hold my head up high again. I can be part of that community, which I felt like I kind of took a step back from. I went from being a doctor to then not knowing what to do in life. I had to reinvent myself. But Kika, and not just Kika, but guide dogs and all the charities that were there to help kind of supported me, said, well, do you know what, Amit? You can have your dreams again. And Kika was a huge part of that.
Yeah. And as a result, you were able to start a family because your confidence was back and you thought, actually, I can make this work somehow. Yeah.
Well, do you know what? There's 4 children in our house. Kika's the oldest. And I've got my 2 human kids in between. And then I've got Quark, the big teddy bear.
So tell us about the big lunch. What is the big lunch?
The big lunch. So I am huge when it comes to community. I've always been. When I was growing up, my mum and dad always said, community matters. It doesn't matter where you are, who you are. Nobody should ever feel that they're alone. And on the back of that, it just happened that I became a doctor. My brother went into social services because we know community is huge. Yeah. And when I lost my sight, I felt that whole thing where I don't feel part of any community. And it just so happened I was at Sky News one day talking about the issues that vision impaired people have. And in the green room was Ainsley Harriott.
Oh, yeah.
And we just got chatting, and he was talking to me about the big lunch, about the Eden Project. I don't know about the big lunch. And he was talking about how food can bring people together. Just like, people feel lonely, and what brings people together better than food? So I got chatting with him, and on that, got involved with the Eden Project, who now do the big lunch, which happens the first weekend of every June. It's to bring everybody together. And it literally is over food. So when I had Kika, we were living in the city, and we thought it's not fair to have Kika in the city. It's concrete jungle. So we moved out into the suburbs of Greenwich. Mm-hmm. I didn't know anybody in Greenwich. Yeah. So when we moved to Greenwich, I got my wife to put out 500 flyers to say, I'm having a street party with the help of with the big lunch, because we can have our road closed off with local authority help. And I'm having this big lunch. Come and join me over food. Just bring a dish. And people were knocking on my door saying, who are you? What's this in aid of? And what's this going to cost me? And I said, it's not going to cost anything. And it literally was so blunt. And I said, it's not going to cost anything. Wouldn't it be great to know your neighbours and get to know everybody? And they said, oh, nobody's ever done this before. Let's, on the day, I was so nervous that I didn't think anybody would show up. We had tables booked from the local church, but I thought, how am I going to bring all of this? We opened the door, and there were about 150 people standing outside my door.
Wow.
And that was 8 years ago. And since then, we do a big lunch every year on our street. Everybody knows each other. And then on the back of that as well, when COVID struck, everybody is there for each other. We even have a WhatsApp group for our street. Yeah. About 3 months ago, we moved house. We moved 100 yards. So literally, our family's grown. So we moved 100 because we love the community. Yeah. And that's what, and it's when you're walking along and people are calling us, talking to you by name. Not the blind guy, but actually having these proper conversations. Amit, do you want to go for a pint on the way home? Oh, yes, please. That great. Proper community where people don't feel that they're alone. Yeah. And I absolutely love that.
Oh, it's an amazing thing, and I imagine a lot of this is in your memoir. Is that right? That you've written? Did you get up to that point?
It is in there, yeah. Because do you know what? Honestly, when I wrote the book, I didn't think anybody would want to listen to the journey of a blind guy. From growing up, going to med school, to suddenly losing my sight, and then having to live in a sighted world. But community is a huge part of it. The Eden Project is a huge part of it. Just, for me, it's feeling part of something. Yeah. It's knowing that even if my kids, had an issue, they can knock on the door of our next door neighbor and they've got help. It's nobody should ever feel like they're ever alone. Nobody should ever go through anything alone and feel like they're isolated. It's very much, it doesn't matter who you are, what language you speak, what color you are. It doesn't matter what mobility issues you have. It doesn't matter. We should all be part of the community.
It sounds like a sort of utopian vision, and it's something that you've managed to achieve where you are in Greenwich, which is amazing, extraordinary story. I just want to ask one quick question. What's the difference between a pet and a guide dog? I understand. I know from other people that I've known who've had guide dogs. They don't appreciate people coming up and petting the dog, for instance. So talk us through a little bit of that, just so we can hear.
Yeah, so when I'm out and about, when I leave my house, the dogs are in their harnesses. So Kika was in their harness, Quark now is in his harness. When they're in their harness, that's work mode. There's a reason why we have a guide dog. It's because we can't see what's in front of us. Yeah. So we would appreciate that, you don't distract the dog as much as these dogs are looking at you, giving you the puppy eyes,
Yes.
Walk away, just walk away, and that's all it is. It's very much. And sometimes, as much as you do want to come along, sometimes we get lots of parents who come along who maybe, kids will say, "Oh, what's that? Why's that man got a harness?" Or "What's that dog? It's wearing a coat." And the parents will say, "Oh, it's a guide dog." I love when a parent would explain what that dog is, And if I've got the time, if I'm not rushing for a train, I'll stop and say, "Would you like to say hello?" Because I love the fact that, it's always nice to interact and not be that rude person all the time. But sometimes, obviously in situations when you're trying to cross a road, the worst thing you could do is distract the dog. Or when you're trying to get on a train, distract the dog. The dogs wear a little flash which says, "Please do not disturb me. Please don't feed me anything." Mm-hmm. And I had a little child who came up to me on a train. He said, "I've just read that little sign on your dog. Can I give him my apple because I think he might be hungry?" Because the child thought I never fed the dog, and I'm like, no, it's not that. It's because the dogs are on special diets, and that's what it. But the moment the dogs are at home, they are pets. They are full on pets. We love them as much as we love any pets. It's but we know they've also got a job to do.
Does their personality kind of completely change? Is it almost like two different dogs?
Oh yeah. Oh yes. It's so with Kika, when she was in her harness around people, she would be on work mode. The moment you take the harness off, she'd be on her back with her legs in the air.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Even Quark, he knows he wants to play, and he will moan. He'll make these little noises to say, "Dad, take the harness off. Just let me go and play for 5 minutes." And again, because they're two different dogs. I've had Quark now for about a year. And I'm still learning his ways.
Yeah.
And I swear he doesn't understand. Being an Irish dog, being trained out in Cork, I need to put on an Irish accent for him to understand me. But my Irish accent doesn't always come out Irish. So yeah,
I think you kind of touched on this. But how do Quark and Kika get on? And how is that relationship? Is Kika kind of passing over tips to Quark?
So it's funny because Kika never got on with any dogs. So we were quite concerned that we always thought Kika may not be here when I get my second guide dog. But because obviously it all kind of came at the same time, we never wanted Kika to feel that she's been replaced. So when Quark first came to the house, Kika's like, "Well, I understand why you're here, but I'm the queen of this house. Just make sure." He's a boy. He loves being bossed around. Kika's a girl. She loves bossing him around, and it works. Right? It's Quark's not allowed in her bed, but she's allowed in his bed. And I don't know how the dynamics work, but she doesn't make any noise. She's barked twice in the entire time I've had her. Quark barks a lot, but Kika will just give her a look to say enough is enough now, and he stops.
Yeah. That's it.
And it's wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
I saw a lovely video actually where Quark was in work mode and Kika was relaxed because she's not in work mode, and it really demonstrated the difference when they know they're working to when they can actually relax and enjoy
Absolutely.
themselves.
Do you know what? It is a great dynamic. We've got a boy and a girl, black lab and yellow lab. They're very different to each other. Where Kika would never get on any furniture. She would never jump on the bed. She's never jumped on the bed. First thing Quark did on my training at 3:00 in the morning when we were training was jump on the bed. I'm like, "What's this? What's going on?" He's like, "No, this is me. Get used to it, Amit." But you know what? My kids love it. My kids have never had a dog that'll jump on the bed. They have now, and he's on the bed with my 5-year-old daughter, just giving her hugs in them. She loves it. But you know what? That's him. But he knows when we're out and about, never to jump on furniture, because I'm in the house, do what you want, right? Do what you want. But when you go out,
Yeah.
We were at Buckingham Palace a couple of weeks ago. I was presenting an award, and with Kika, we've done Buckingham Palace a few times. I know she would never jump in the lake. She would never run after the geese. With Quark, I wasn't worried about my speech. I was worried about what he would do. Is he going to jump on the prince? What's he going to do? He was amazing. But do you know what? It's their own like children. You don't know what's going to happen. You have no idea what's going to happen. But I can, as a blind guy, I can get away with a lot.
Yeah, of course.
That's
What's the best way to help? If people listening might want to donate and they think, oh, this is amazing, I want to do something. Well, what's the best way to help with the Guide Dog program?
Log into our website. They're always looking for volunteers.
Yeah,
always looking for, and it's not just puppy walkers. It's other things as well. It's maybe driving dogs to locations, even going out and shaking a bucket. But everything that you do, all the money that goes into it helps people like me. It helps the dogs. And guide dogs are they're an amazing charity in a way that if you can't afford to look after your dog, they will make sure that your dog is fed and all the vets. If you can afford to pay the vets and pay for the meals, even better.
Okay.
But it's an amazing charity.
Well, we'll put a link at the end of this, won't we, Sarah?
Yes.
Just so people can
find
that and help out. The final question we always ask, and I don't know which way this is going to go, and we always do ask this, but do you let your dogs kiss you on the mouth?
Not on the mouth. Quark would kiss. He would want to, yes.
Okay, yeah.
I get the ear. I get kisses in the ear with Quark.
Ear. Okay.
But Kika's a no-no. She's like, no, none of this kissing business. Quark will lick you all over. Doesn't matter where it is.
Right. As a doctor, where do you stand on that? Do you think it's a good or bad idea?
Do you know what? I think it's good for the immune system, isn't it?
Okay,
let's
great.
Be honest.
Great.
Let's be honest.
Doctor's mouth.
Yeah, let's just it's probably better than what you touch in the public transport.
Interesting. That's really great.
But then again, I know what he licks as well, so it's 50-50. Let's be honest.
It's been amazing hearing you and your story, and thank you for teaching us so much about guide dogs. There's a lot of that I had no idea about. It's fascinating to hear you.
But you know what? I think you see the dogs out and about, but you don't really see all the work that goes into it. No. And even as guide dog owners, we have to be strict to our dogs because it's easy for them to get into bad habits, and it's hard for them to get out of the bad. So it's sometimes you might encounter a guide dog owner and they're a bit standoffish, but it's only because maybe you don't know where they are in their partnership, or that dog is very different, and the guide dog owner knows he has to keep that dog in control. Otherwise, it's too easy to get distracted.
Yeah. They're all individuals, aren't they? Thank you so much again, Amit, for joining us on Oh My
pleasure.
Dog.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
So interesting there, and it's sort of I felt being let into a world that otherwise would not have known anything really about, unless you're part of it already by knowing or being someone who has a guide dog. It's just the whole thing going on behind people being brought together with a dog in that way is incredible, isn't it?
Just exactly. We talk on this podcast about the impact. You kind of touched on this, Jack, but the impact that dogs have on our lives.
Yeah.
But to really hear how fundamental they are in someone's life, and then be able to operate.
Yeah.
On a day-to-day basis, it's quite mind-blowing, really. That was such a fascinating chat, and I was completely engrossed.
So was I, and we all get so much out of our dogs, but for Amit to say that having lost his sight suddenly, as a young man just at the beginning of his career and married life, and then with the introduction of Kika, this guide dog comes into their life, and suddenly he's able to reimagine how life could be, and that's what gave him the confidence to even start a family and
amazing.
And start a new career in a different path. What an amazing man, actually, but incredible story with the dog. So it should be said.
To the listeners, if you want to follow Amit, he is on Instagram. You can follow him at BlindDad_UK and continue watching him on his journey. Fascinating.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
By the way, I actually sponsor. Do you remember this?
Oh,
do you know
yeah.
I do sponsor a guide dog.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And how's that going? Do they keep you updated and things?
I think the first guide dog yes, they do. I was stopped at a service station. I remember telling you. I think it's quite near the beginning, and I ended up getting roped in, and I'm glad I did. I ended up sponsoring a dog called Olive, but apparently Olive, it just didn't work.
Didn't work out. Okay.
Didn't work out. Like Amit had said, that sometimes it just doesn't work out, and now
you get money back.
Oh, God. It's a good point. I'll look into that. Actually, it's a really, really astute of you. I'm gonna have a word. I'm gonna call up. Yeah. But no, I must open. Do you know what it is? I'm terrible. It's because I don't open my letters.
No,
I don't open any of the letters, so I never know. When I open them, I'll give you an update. Yes. So, thank you for listening to Own My Dog. We hope you're enjoying getting all these insights from our guests each week. We take a deep dive into our love of dogs.
Yes, and please go and subscribe to our YouTube channel at OMDpod, and please do get in touch by emailing us at hello@omdpod.com, and find us on Instagram at OMDpod. You'll find loads of extra content, photos and videos there, and you can send us your voice notes.
And don't forget to give us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast to. And remember, a dog is for life, not just for podcasts. Next week, I want to do a little game.
Yeah.
The audience are aware now that we read that last bit.
Okay.
And next week, we both have to try and end the pod without reading that and see how close we can get to the script.
No dodgy websites, please.
Oh,
yes.
I know, because I did that on the live one when we didn't have it in front of us. I have literally read that more than 100 times.
I know. You made up a website.
Still couldn't do it.
Oh, there you go. See you next week.
Yeah.